From Sparta, we turn to another major Greek city-state, Athens. Athens was located in the central peninsula known as Attica. Unlike Laconia, the fertile homeland of the Spartans, Attica had very little good farmland. Aside from its silver mines, the region was generally poor. However, Athens lay only about 5 miles from the coast, close enough to take advantage of excellent natural harbours. This geographic fact shaped Athens's future. If the city was to become powerful, it would be through trade, not agriculture. Before 500 BCE, when Athenian trade was still limited, the polis remained relatively weak and underdeveloped. But after 500 BCE, as trade expanded, Athens rapidly became one of the most powerful and progressive city-states in Greece. The Athenians spoke an Ionian dialect, suggesting continuity with the Mycenaean Greeks, who had occupied the region before the Iron Age. Our evidence for the earliest political organization of Athens is limited, but we know enough to understand its basic structure. Before 600 BCE, Athens still retained a primitive and oligarchic political arrangement. The old kingship, the basileus, had already been replaced by a committee of 9 officials called archons. These archons, somewhat like the ephors in Sparta, served 1-year terms and were responsible for governing various areas of public life, including war, religion, and justice. The Athenian council, the boule, wielded considerable authority in this early period. It was composed of former archons, meaning that after serving a single year as archon, a man entered the boule for life. There was also an assembly of citizens, which elected officials and voted on major issues, but it could discuss only the matters placed before it by the boule. As a result, the boule was the true center of policymaking. Participation in government was restricted in 2 major ways. First, as Athens expanded before 600 BCE, it incorporated many outlying villages and farms into its territory. The people living in these annexed regions were not citizens and had no governmental role. Second, even within the citizen body, political privilege was limited. All citizens could vote in the assembly, but only men from certain aristocratic families, known as the eupatridae, or well-born, could hold archonship and dominate the boule. Their control of government made the system highly oligarchic and deeply unstable. Economic conditions in Attica made the situation worse. Before 600 BCE, most Athenians were small farmers, and the scarcity of fertile land made it difficult for them to prosper. As the population slowly increased between 750 and 600 BCE, many farmers struggled even to feed their families. In bad years, they borrowed food or seed from wealthy neighbors, often members of the eupatrid class, who had surplus harvests. Once a farmer fell into debt, it became nearly impossible to escape it. He had to produce enough to feed his family while also repaying what he owed. By 600 BCE, many, perhaps most, small farmers had become permanent debtors. They paid a fixed amount each year to wealthy landowners with no realistic hope of clearing their debt. Worse still, they were often cheated by creditors who charged unreasonable interest. Seeking justice was often futile, since the man who cheated them was likely related to the archon or the judge hearing their case. This was the state of Athens by 600 BCE, economic hardship, political oligarchy, social unrest, and a system in which the wealthy aristocratic families held almost total control. Earlier we saw that Sparta's system was harsh but stable, and largely unchanging. Athens, however, faced conditions so severe that change became unavoidable. Between 600 and 500 BCE, a series of events would completely transform the Athenian state and lay the foundations for one of history's most influential democracies.